Welcome to Power Lunch Live. I'm Rhett Power, your host. Great to be with you here on Thursday. I think it's what is it, the 16th already yep, 16th of July already. Hard to keep track of time in these days. The weekends and the weeks all kind of blend together. But anyway, hope you're staying safe and healthy and productive in these strange times. Now, the point of Power Lunch Live is to have today's thought leaders, best-selling authors, amazing people who are doing amazing work that we can all learn from and get better at what we do. That's the whole point of the show. We are broadcasting on LinkedIn Live, of course, but also Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, probably a few others. We monitor those feeds during the program. So if you want to engage with us, that would be fantastic. We like that a lot. And you also, get to ask these guests your direct questions, things that are sort of burning questions in your mind that might, and it might help you learn something very specific. Now, so please do engage. That's, very, very important. If you like the program, give it a like or share so our network can grow and your network can benefit from these conversations. Now, today, real pleased to have Doug Morneau on the program. He's an author, speaker, marketing expert, and host of the podcast Real Marketing Real Fast. Doug specializes in sponsored email, and his book, Three Big Lies, The Real Truth About Renting Email Lists to Generate Targeted Leads and Sales, is an international bestseller. He's passionate about helping clients in their marketing strategy. As I said, he's a media buyer. He helps raise venture capital money through targeted email. And Doug, it's a real pleasure to have you on the program.
Hey, Rhett. Super excited to be here today. Thanks for inviting me on the show.
To me, it's a big question. Is email still effective as a strategy in terms of marketing?
I think so. I mean, I tell people that I'm tactic agnostic. I did write a book on email, but that doesn't mean that I believe that email will be good forever. It works now. And so like any other tactic you use for marketing, I'm constantly testing and measuring that and looking at my return on ad spend, my ROI, my conversion, my engagement. And so I think to be effective in any business, you need to have multiple streams of leads and traffic to your website, and email is one of them. The reason I like email is it's ridiculously scalable. To run a Facebook ad campaign or Google ad campaign, which we do both of, to hire an influencer, which we've done as well. Email takes on the very similar attributes of hiring an influencer. If we run a sponsored email program with Fast Company has a list of subscribers and they're sending their email to their subscribers, but it has my marketing message. So I'm basically being introduced to their audience. And the reason it's scalable is because most of these large brands that we partner with have lists that are 300,000, 400,000, 500,000 people. So when you send out your marketing message at 9 a.m., at 9:05, 300,000 people have received your message in their inbox.
What's a good open rate on something like that?
The Fast Company guys are north of 30% and 40%.
Really?
They have a ridiculously responsive list, but every vendor is different. So if you look at that and compare it to Inc. or Fortune or the Washington Post or any of those other medias that we would advertise in, they're all different.
Okay.
And what's changed in the email space now from when we first started is it was pay to play. So just like running a newspaper ad, you run the ad. When the newspaper goes in the garbage, so does your ad. The difference with emails, it stays in your inbox. So you might look at it later. But the biggest change was remarketing and retargeting. So now when I drive this massive amount of traffic to a landing page, the people who don't sign up, we can now remarket, retarget. Before we couldn't do that. We would just buy the media, again.
Okay. So walk me through what a strategy is for email, because there's so much noise out there right now. And everybody's saying, well, you got to run Facebook ads, you got to run LinkedIn ads, you got to do, or Twitter, whatever. You got to run ads here, you got to do Google AdWords, you got to do all. And, for most businesses, that's just confusing. So what is a really solid, and I know this is an unfair question and it's very broad, but what for a small medium enterprise, for or even a decent sized business, how do you start getting your head around all of this?
Well, I mean, it really comes down to the going back to the basics. So who is your perfect customer? So who are the people that you like to work with, that pay you quickly, pay you profitably, and that are your best customers and become evangelists or brand endorsers? So go back and figure out who those people are first before you go look at tactics. So lots of people go, hey, I need to be on Facebook ads because, Frank Kern said Facebook ads, or I need to be, on SMS because Gary Vee says SMS. Well, I mean, that may or may not work for your brand. So start with who are your customers, and then walk yourself through a day in the life of your customer. So, what time do they get up? What's their morning routine? Do they drink coffee? Do they drink tea? Do they go to the gym? Do they watch a yoga class? What do they do during the day? How do they get to work? Do they drive? Do they take transit? Do they listen to podcasts? Do they tune into lives like this? What do they read online? What do they read offline? What are their hobbies? What are their habits? What are the charities and not-for-profits? What are the things they're passionate about? Are they married? Do they have kids? Like, where are all the places you can find your ideal customer? And then look at the channels that they're on, and can you reach them there? And email is just one of them. And the reason I like email is, this is going to sound a bit weird, is because I can go look for the starving audience. So if I was to create a brand new company today, I would go look for a starving audience before I created a product. So go to, for example, I know that I can get access to an email list of people in alternative health that have high blood pressure or have type 2 diabetes. That's a bigger issue. So there's a starving audience. There's 3 million people who have subscribed to a list that have type 2 diabetes that would desperately like to resolve that. So if I have something that can help them resolve that, now I can market that to them, opposed to saying, hey, I should just run an ad in pick a health not a health magazine, but I should run an ad on Facebook. So it really comes back to old school. Know your customer, know your audience. Not everybody's your customer. Find out where they are, find out what channels they're on, and then don't just go in with one channel. Use multiple channels. So I don't know if that makes it any easier. I don't know if I answered your question, so feel free to push back.
No, I think it's fascinating because I mean, we've all seen. I remember, in the toy business, I'd get solicited for lists all the time, and I wonder if that's evolved any in the last few years, where not only can you get that email address, but you have maybe a Facebook account or maybe some other type of social account that they're on, so that you can sort of target them in multiple ways.
Yeah, and I think one of the challenges with the email space is there's confusion between renting a list or sponsored email and buying a list. So when you sponsor an email, you're going to someone like a Fast Company, and it's their list, it's on their server, it's their relationship, it's their subscribers. You're just an advertiser in there. So we typically do solo ads, which means the entire email is about us. So we never know who the people are that are on the list. So lots of times when people are pitching you to, hey, take this list, they're trying to sell you data that you're going to have to cold email. That's a totally different subject. But this is permission based. And to your point, yeah, there's lots of people out there that are pushing this, but the people who are doing it well aren't talking about it. They're just keeping it quiet because it works. and you're off the radar. Like if you're running Google AdWords and you're running Facebook and I'm following you as a competitor, I can see what you're doing. But if you're mailing the Washington Post list, if I'm not on the list, I can't see your ads. So your business. So I typically tell my clients, don't discuss what you're doing. Tell people you're running Google ads or Facebook ads if they ask. Don't tell them what we're really doing in the background, because they're going to become a competitor to you, because I'm sure they'll phone me or phone someone like me.
Yeah. I love that strategy. So where do you, I mean, so let's say I want to do some email marketing. What am I looking at sort of cost wise? What's a good budgeting number to sort of think about for let's say, small, medium enterprise? And where do I go to, like, and I know I can't do it. I don't have the internal staff to do it. I want to hire someone. What kind of questions do I ask, and where do I start looking for that help?
Well, again, come down to, what your goals are and who you want to target, and then find someone like myself that buys this type of media. Or if you've got an existing relationship with a list broker, so maybe you've done direct mail in the past, just
Mhm.
phone the existing guys and say, hey, do any of the files that you've got have email? And do you have experience with email? And if they do, then you just use your existing relationship. If you don't, then find somebody who understands this space deeply,
'Cause there's a
and
magic to that email, right? There's a magic to the text and the content.
well,
I mean, that's what people
that's
don't often say, right?
right. Absolutely. That's a different side of it. So I'd say, let's say for argument's sake that you find you're in the toy business. So let's use boating. Find a yachting magazine where people have subscribed. Subscribe to the list and see what they're sending. So if you want to understand what sort of content you should write and present, subscribe to the list before you rent the list. Or get them to send you several back issues and look at the copy, the content, how it's laid out. Look at the people who are taking the smaller sponsored ads. How are they writing those ads? Look at people who have sent out full solo emails before and have the conversation with them. And so these are the things I would do. I'd say, hey, I want to see your last 10 issues. I want to see your last 10 ads. I want you to give me feedback of what works, what moves the sales dial best for your audience. Is it a direct ask? Is it a native ad style? And then I'll ask for extra stuff. So what else can you do? Do you have a list of social media guys? Can you also share on social when we run an email campaign? So I'm not going to name them, but there's a major credit card company where you can get access to their data. So they will do a sponsored email for you. So the question of, do you open your email? Well, if you got an email from your credit card company, you're typically going to open it. They will sell you a sponsored ad in their email. Now, they're super picky about who they take for advertisers, but they also have 3 million people who follow them on Facebook. And they will also, if they like your offer, send a blast out on Facebook introducing your brand.
Okay, that's fascinating. I mean, that's just sort of a tacit endorsement when that happens, isn't it?
Yeah.
Um, so what is going to the cost? What is if I'm sitting here thinking about my budget for marketing, what is a fair budget for something like this? I just don't have a clue what that might be.
No, fair question. I'd say it needs to be part of your overall media budget. So you're probably already spending on Google, Facebook as a
Right.
as a minimum, right? So for someone coming in as an entry point, I'll give you a very specific example because I'm just doing the research on this for a potential client now. They want to reach PR executives in the US.
Mhm.
So I've targeted the two biggest PR magazines that have a permission-based list. The starting budget for each of those is going to be over $5,000. It's going to be about $5,500 to $6,000 per ad.
Okay.
So it's, if you're looking to spend $50 a day on Facebook, totally different budget. These are most of the list owners will have minimum budgets that'll start at about $2,000 and go to about $5,000. Some of them, that's their entire list. In this case, the PR agency, the PR magazine, that's their entire list for $5,000. So once you've mailed to it, there's nothing more. Some of the other media that we might use, they might have a list of 1 million, 1.5 million, or there's one health list I really like, 600,000 people. So I would mail 100,000 of that 600,000 to test it. So I would come in with a smaller budget. I might come in with a budget of like $3,000 or $4,000, and if I get the ROI, now I know that I can scale it up, and there's another 500,000 people I haven't talked to.
Okay. And is there a strategy? I mean, when you do one of these ads, it's not effective to just do a one-time thing, is it? I mean, what's the equation for email marketing? Is it once a month, once a week? What's too much and what's not enough?
Well, you actually can do it just once. It's one of those really
Can
weird
you?
media because you're reaching this massive, massive audience. So what I would suggest is that you would test, several different medias to find out which media works, and then look at your return on ad spend. So what does it cost you to convert the customer? Do your math. Once you know your numbers, then you can scale up. So that then becomes a discussion of, okay, for every dollar I spend, I get $3 back. I can do that all day long. Every dollar I spend, I get 99 cents back. Well, that's not great acquisition. Although if I have an upsell or lifetime value, then maybe that's worth it. So it really comes down to doing your numbers. The clients that we work with that are raising capital, we're typically mailing once a week.
Okay.
to maybe the same media, maybe different types of media.
Talk about that a little bit. I find that fascinating. I wish I'd have met you 10, 15 years ago when I was looking for private equity. um, it's not something I had thought about, but it's interesting because I'm getting ready to start a new company, and we may need to be in touch. But talk about using email as lead generation for private equity, because I hadn't seen that before.
So there's, if you look at some of the financial portals that exist, like Zacks Financial out of Chicago, they've been around for a long time, well-established company, good reputation in the marketplace. They have free products and they have paid products.
Mm-hmm.
And so the assumption is if somebody's paying for a product, they're higher quality. So in that case, I have rented or sponsored their email, and we have purchased their direct mail list and mailed people. So we've done both email and direct mail to the same audience. So these are individuals that are investors that have put their hand up, that have willingly signed up for a free email, or they've signed up and they're paying a subscription for advice from Zacks Financial. So they're interested in investing. So we know that they're interested in investing. The next question is, are they interested in what you're asking them to invest in? Right. But we know they're online and we know that they're active. So the only question is your offer, in alignment with what they want to invest in?
What they're looking for, right?
Yeah.
Can you talk about you've got some other things that you do, and you've talked about paid influencer marketing, and that's one thing I want to ask you about is how has that evolved over the years, and where is it today, and is it a smart strategy for a new brand to do some sort of paid influencer campaign?
So I'll just start with the first question, was how's it evolved? So we started doing this back about 10, 12 years ago, where we were paying for people on Twitter to send out tweets. So it worked really well. I'm not going to lie. It was, I broke my rule of targeting because it worked so well. There wasn't enough inventory. We just bought everything they had, regardless of what the category was, because it worked well. But what we do at the end of a campaign is we go, okay, so here's all the places that we spent money. So we spent money on paid social. We spent money on just social media posting. We spent money on email. We spent money on direct mail. And then we try to evaluate, what does it cost us to get a lead based on all of those platforms? And obviously the least expensive was social. The next least expensive was paid social. Pay-per-click was next in terms of Google and Facebook, then email, and then direct mail. The challenge was that the only one that was truly scalable at a large size was email. Direct mail is just more expensive because it's $1 a name to mail. So we're sending out mailers like 1 million pieces, but that's still $1 million. So, we would use all of them. And what we found was the sum didn't add up. So 1 + 1 didn't equal 2, 1 + 1 equals 6. So we would do, social plus email plus paid social, and it blew it up. So the channels perform better when people can see your brand, your message across multiple platforms.
Right.
And so for influencer now today, where it's moved, it's moved huge today. The question is, does it work? Because, they've run tests where, hey, I'll pay an influencer to see if they sell t-shirts, and they can't sell a single t-shirt. So that's no different than your email list. To have a list of 500,000 people and have a 1% open rate is the same as having 1 million people following on Instagram and you not being able to sell a single t-shirt. So it's do your research, identify your influencer. And there's platforms now. So that's the big change. There's at least half a dozen platforms that I've looked at that manage the influencer relationship. So you go in, you pay a monthly fee. It might be $700 or $800 or $1,500 a month. You get access to all the influencers. They use AI to track the influencers posts. They track the responsiveness. They track all the engagement. And then you basically put out a pitch sheet, if you will, saying, I've got this brand and I want to promote it. And then the influencers look at that and they decide whether or not they want to accept your offer and take that on. And then the platform allows you this CRM functionality to manage them. So that's at the very high end, the fancy end. If I was starting out, I wouldn't suggest that. I would just suggest looking for a handful, maybe half a dozen influencers who you know, like, and trust, that you feel would be would believe in your brand, and I would just do a cold outreach and pitch them.
I was going to tell you a story. So one of the things that happened to us in the toy business was one Christmas we had one of the top toys that year, and so Al Roker, at Today Show, I think, I don't watch the morning stuff, but does a toy special every year and highlights a few toys on before Christmas, and our toy was selected for that. And we got a big bump that morning that the product was on. The same week, or the following Monday, we got a placement in a mommy blog, a very popular one, but I think it was called Pioneer Women, and I think she's actually has a TV show now. But at the time, she had probably 1 million followers of her blog. We did better with the blog. We had 10 times the business that came from that blog post endorsing the product versus what we had off of a national TV that we didn't pay for. And I think that I was just fascinated by, here's somebody that's very famous, very influential, promoting the product. And here's a blog just in a small regional, just for Chicago. It was Chicago focused. And she blew it up. I mean, she blew it up for us. And I just found that really fascinating. And I think maybe the perception, somebody told me later, well, if it's on the Today Show, we thought maybe you paid for it, right? You paid for that placement. And I thought that was interesting.
Yeah, no, I'm not surprised. I mean, that really comes down to the know, like, and trust, right? So yeah, I'm not surprised at all, because lots of times I think what people are looking for now is they're looking for more authentic connection, and I'm assuming the subscribers to that blog like the author, and they follow her because they can relate to her, and it's not Hollywood,
right? Yeah,
it's just one mom saying to another mom, like, I've got 3 grandkids now, but I mean, so I remember that all the toy ads come on for my my kids.
Yeah.
And so I look at, would I take a personal recommendation from someone I consider a friend of mine, over what I would see on TV? Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah, that was very powerful. It just illustrated that sometimes that influencer marketing is tough, but I think there is value in it. But it's about finding that right match, like you were talking about, right? It's not about seeing a picture of them wearing a product that is not real. It's got to be a little more genuine and a little more real than that, I think.
Well, and where it's going now is, we've been testing. There's a new platform that's just coming out that we're testing now that does you can sell in live stream.
Really?
So the idea is, so you take your influencer, you leverage your influencer marketing to the next level. You've got the influencer that's looking at your brand. So in your case, the toy, you've got someone saying, hey, look at this new great wooden toy, and it's good, and it's for health and learning, and this is how it's built, and this is how it works. And they're showing it in a live stream, and people can go in that live stream without leaving the live stream, and they can order it. Or if they're looking at sneakers, they can order it in the live stream. But with the influencer stuff, like the mummy blogger, the best thing you can do if you're going to hire an influencer, or sometimes you don't have to hire them, they're just happy to promote something that's congruent with who they are, you need to market it. So that's when you take that and you spend money on Facebook, and you spend money taking that video that influencer did, and you send it to your email list, and you make them the hero.
Yeah, that's powerful. Talk about a little bit, what is third-party permissions-based email? What is that? Because I know
that's what I'm talking about. So come back to the Washington Post. You've subscribed to their email.
Okay.
So the permission is with the Post. So they're the third party. So okay. I'm taking right. my ad, and I'm giving it to them as their relationship. And that's the difference between blasting a cold list that you have no relationship with, and somebody else that's a third party that has that relationship. So it's permission based. So it works in the US, it works in the UK. So even with all the new changes in the UK, it still works in Canada, even though Canada's got this ridiculously hard CAN spam or castle law, because the relationship is with the brand or the publisher, or the relationship is with you. So Rhett, if I came to you and said, hey, would you send out promotion for my book to your audience? And you said, yes, I'll charge you X, I'll charge you $1 million for that. The relationship is between you and your subscriber.
Right. Okay. That makes sense. I just wanted to clarify that in my own brain. You talk about integrated media plans versus sort of the shiny new object. You want to talk about that a little bit? Because I think that's really important, because it's very easy to get off on that and follow that new trend or that new thing, right? And it's not necessarily always the best thing.
Yeah, it's funny because I'm laughing because I'm always looking at the shiny new object, but I figured that's my role. So if a client phones me and says, "Hey,
you're not on TikTok, are you?"
Beg pardon?
You're not on TikTok, are you?
I am.
All right. Hey, fantastic.
So I'm not using. I'm an old guy that's on all the social media platforms partly to keep up with my kids so I can see what they're doing. So, I mean, I spent years investing in going to the DMA events, the Direct Marketing Association events. People say, how much money do you make there? I said, none. Do you get any leads? No, I'm going there to look for vendors. That's it. My sole focus is to go there and to learn from the best speakers that are there, to hear what they're doing, and to go with a budget to go spend and try new stuff. So, you need to have a solid plan. So back to who's your audience, what are your goals, know your numbers, know your metrics. Make sure you've got several sources of traffic coming, but then always be looking and testing some new stuff. But don't switch your whole plan. Say, hey, I was at this event and I heard I've got to be, to your point, I got to be on TikTok. Well, so is your audience on TikTok? And okay, so if you got to be on TikTok, how are we going to move them from TikTok to putting their credit card in and buying something from you? So what's your monetization strategy? So I'm not opposed to trying new stuff. I try new stuff all the time. And so the way I try it is my name, my credit card. I test it, I try it. So a new tool that we've been trying now allows me to engage with anonymous people coming to my website. So if you come to my website and you're in this database of about 2 billion people, I will get your first name, last name, physical mailing address, what page you came to, where you came from, and your email address immediately. Even though you did not give that to me, I can get that information. The question is, how do I responsibly use that? That's a different topic. So, that's something I'm testing. So I've tested this now for the last 6 weeks. I've been absolutely blown away how well it works. Will I roll this out and implement this for clients now? Yes, I will. If it didn't work, it would just be one more thing I tried, and I would throw it in the big, huge heap of stuff that I've tried that didn't work. And we'd never have that discussion again.
That's just powerful information, isn't it? I mean, blows me away how you can use that, and how really you can target. We can now begin to really target. It's been happening for a while, but you go on Facebook and I look at shoes, or I look at shirts, or I look at something, right? I'm thinking about buying a new shirt, and all of a sudden on Facebook it pops up. I mean, that just or an hour later when I check my Facebook feed, there it is again, right, to remind me. I think that's just fascinating.
It is, and I don't mind. I know there's two sides to the coin of how much privacy you're giving up and how much information you're giving up, and which is one side. But I look at it, for me, it's more of convenience. So, if I'm interested in a topic, like if I'm interested in, I like going to the CrossFit gym. So you can send me stuff about CrossFit all day long, and I'll watch videos and I'll watch it on Netflix because I'm interested. If you sent me something, that area that I'm not interested in, I'm going to consider that spam and a nuisance and an interruption. So I think that if you're being a good marketer and being mindful of your audience and providing value to them, that they, you're more likely to be a welcome visitor instead of a nuisance or a pest.
So what's the three big lies? What's the overall message you really want to get through to people?
Consider this as a valid media option. That's it. So the three big lies really are that, it's dead, it doesn't work, and it's against the law. So, one of the clients I worked for years ago was the Wall Street Journal. So they rented some data from me. So I could name you 100 brands out there that you'd recognize. So let's start with the fact that nobody's doing this to break the law. So that's a lie. Email doesn't work. Again, email is not as effective as it once was. That's absolutely true, because now people are getting bombarded with emails. That doesn't mean it still doesn't work. With new technology now, we're using AI for writing subject lines. So I can pre-test a subject line where there might have been literally 100 million emails sent with a similar subject line, and anticipate before I send it the open and click-through rates. So technology's getting better. So I would just say, consider this as part of your media mix. I'm not for 1 minute suggesting that, hey, this is the new thing, you should move your entire budget here, this is going to solve all your problems. What I am suggesting is that as a responsible business owner, you should look at all the options that are out there and see if this is a fit for your brand or your product. And if it is, at least investigate it. And then again, don't take all your budget, you test it. You test it and you see if it works. And, like you hear people say, oh, Facebook advertising doesn't work. Well, it didn't work for you, but that doesn't mean it doesn't work. So same with email. Oh, email doesn't work. Well, it didn't work for you, but, tell me your story. Why didn't it work? What did you do? And what you uncover is, you figure out what the problem is. It was a bad vendor. It was not permission-based. They sent a whole image in the thing instead of sending text. So it went to spam. So, just explore it.
Yeah, they're often, what I find in those kind of conversations is they got bad advice, right?
Yeah.
And so the problem is, I mean, I'm fascinated by AI in and of itself, but like you just said, it's fascinating that you can now test some of the headlines, and you can really figure out. And I think that's got to be one of those questions when you're hiring an agency or someone to do this. I mean, that's got to be one of those questions. How are you testing my message? How do we make sure it's the most effective way? And I think that's a really valid point. And are you using the technology to help you do that? I think that's got to be a question that you ask now.
That's a great question. I mean, because most of the technology, like when we provide these services for our clients, we don't charge them for all this tech. So, I get a commission. So if you wanted to rent a list, I'm going to get a 15 to 20% commission. If you want me to help you do creative, I will charge you for creative. But if you just want me to do the media buy, that's it. But on the back end, we've got all this tech that we're using to make sure that your emails is as effective as possible, that we're tracking deliveries and clicks and opens. We're not trusting the vendors to report. I'm not saying they're reporting dishonestly, but they use different technology. So the reporting is not the same across multiple platforms. So we're doing all that in the back end because that's just good business to make sure that you're getting what you paid for.
And then that you're using the technology to capture those responses so that you can build your list, right?
Yeah, I mean, that's the goal. I mean, the goal isn't just to spend money on media. It's to move people from, so we'll go back to Fast Company, move people from Fast Company's list to your list.
Right. And then putting them in that funnel. Are you helping people create that sort of sales funnel and that communication funnel?
Sometimes. It depends on the client. So sometimes the client has an agency that they're working with, or they're doing it in-house. They want us just for media. Sometimes they're buying media from somebody else and they just want us to track the media to make sure that the vendor that they're spending money with is actually delivering what they promised. And in other cases, they say, we want you to do all of this. We want you to do the lead generation. So we would do the copywriting, set up the ads, run Facebook, Google, remarketing, retargeting, custom audiences, and do the permission-based email marketing as well.
Yeah, I'd love to have you back on at some point and talk about just the message development, because I think that's I see that as a huge issue, and not really. And I think that's one of the reasons why people aren't opening emails, or they don't open they don't get into that buying cycle, is because of the message. And I think that's where people try to do that themselves, and that falls flat. So love to have you back on at some point and talk more about that. But so the final question for you has nothing to do with any of that. But it's, based on COVID and where we are and the way things are going, what are you really excited about? Like something new that's really interesting to you, and then what scares you? You can reverse that. You can start with what scares you right now about the market, and then what you're excited about.
Well, you're the first person going to share this with publicly, so you'll be able to see, you heard it here first. I'm super excited about e-commerce.
Okay.
About basically setting up a rehab business, kind of like buying and flipping houses. So we are now on the hunt to buy digital assets that are underperforming.
Okay. Like websites and
Yep.
news sites
Yep.
and
Yep, that are underperforming, because I know that we have the tool set and we have the team and we have the partners in place to leverage those. And, then I don't have to have a discussion with somebody like, well, why are you doing this? Or I've never done that. Doesn't matter anymore. We're just going to acquire the assets, implement with our team. So we'll take on less private clients and be more of a buyer of companies and turn them around. What scares me? I guess what scares me is, make sure that I'm focusing on the right things and not being distracted. So, we're given, so much time here on earth to do the right things. And I just want to make sure that my focus and my attention's on the right things, and business is just one of them.
yeah.
Right. So we've got family, we've got community, we've got everything else. And it's easy to go down that one track. I mean, right now I'm working like crazy. So I'm working 6 days a week, long days, doubling down, because this is the time to double down because the opportunity's here.
Right.
But I won't always do that. So there's a lot of things I won't do because I don't want the time commitment to do that. I like to have the freedom to spend with my kids and my grandkids and to do some travel and spend some time with our family. So my fear is that get too one track mind and you miss what's really important.
It's easy to do.
Yeah.
And it goes by so fast. And if you're like a lot of us, it's fun to do what we're doing. And so it's easy to get lost in that. So
Absolutely.
So this has been fascinating, and I appreciate your time today. The book is 3 Big Lies, The Real Truth About Renting Email Lists to Generate Targeted Leads and Sales. It is an international bestseller. I'm assuming you can get it on Amazon and all the places you buy books.
Yeah, you can. So this is what it looks like.
Oh yeah, I love props. Yes. Thank you.
If you want to get it on Amazon, it's $30. If you want to get a really good deal on the book, go to my website, dougmorneau.com, subscribe to my email list. When you get your welcome message, say, hey, I saw you on Rhett Power and I want a copy of your book. I'll charge you $7 for shipping and send it to you.
Oh, fantastic. We've already put the link in the feed, so they've got it. You can go straight to the website. And we did have a couple questions. Let's see. Sorry. Great insight, Doug and Rhett. Thank you. Looking for a starring audience first. Genius. Had a couple of good comments there. Thank you so much, Doug. And if you want to find out our upcoming schedule for next week, it's powerlunch.live. Powerlunch.live. Please go to the website and look at our upcoming schedule. Until then, have a great week. Stay productive, healthy, and safe. And we'll see you next week. Have a great weekend.